A lot of pastors wrestle with the same question. How do I fund the work that God has called me to do? I sat through a seminar once where the speaker said the answer is simple. Start a business on the side to generate income for your ministry. Well, in this episode, I'm going to share 3 reasons why, for most pastors, that's actually a terrible idea. Hi, I'm Larry Witzel, and this is Ministry Insights from SermonView. Thank you for taking a few minutes with me today. I do hope that you'll find this content inspirational, educational, and affirming to your ministry. A few years ago, I attended a ministry training event where one of the speakers made a bold claim. You can fund your ministry by starting a profitable business. His argument was simple. If you have a business generating income, you'll have the financial resources you need to cover your ministry expenses. Sounds great, right? The speaker was a young entrepreneur who had started over a dozen businesses in just 10 years, and his enthusiasm was contagious. But as I listened, something inside me pushed back, and I thought, this is terrible advice. As I reflected on why I reacted so strongly, I realized that my own experience offers 3 really strong reasons why, for most pastors, splitting focus between ministry and business is a mistake. First, business will demand more than you expect. Running a business is hard work. In principle, it's simple. Spend less this month than your revenue from last month. But in reality, it's incredibly challenging. Managing expenses, handling employees, dealing with customer service issues, navigating economic downturns, this is all going to consume your time and energy. And here's the danger. When your business struggles, it will always take priority. Because if your business fails, your ministry funding disappears. So suddenly, you're not just a pastor, you're a business owner juggling both roles. This isn't just theoretical. A study in the Academy of Management Review found that role conflict, like trying to be both a pastor and a business owner, creates mental strain, time pressure, and diminished performance on all fronts. As a pastor, you're already overtaxed. Balancing ministry demands with family and other responsibilities is hard enough, and those will all be negatively impacted if you add business to the mix. The truth is, business will never be passive. It will always demand your attention, and before you know it, you'll have to choose which master you're going to serve, business or ministry. The second reason running a business on the side is a bad idea for most pastors is that they're simply not wired to do it. You need to do what God wired you to do. Here's a key principle. God calls different people to different roles. Not everyone is meant to be a pastor, just like not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. The Apostle Paul makes this clear in Romans 12 when he said, in his grace, God has given different gifts for doing certain things well. In college, I was a theology major, and I briefly worked as a pastor after graduation. That was a terrible idea because I'm not called to be a pastor. That's not how God wired me. It took me a while to find my way, but for the last 24 years, I've been serving pastors through a business that equips and supports them with services and technology for more effective evangelism. I love my job as founder and president of this organization, leading the SermonView crew in supporting your ministry. That's because I'm doing what God created me to do. God has wired some people with the gift of leadership in business, and they should use that gift to generate wealth for the kingdom. Others are gifted in preaching, teaching, and shepherding, and their focus should be on ministry. Now, to be clear, God has called some people to do both. The church needs volunteer lay pastors who work regular jobs while leading churches and preaching the gospel. Even the Apostle Paul himself was bivocational at times, working as a tent maker to support his ministry. But here's the difference. Paul didn't pursue business to fund his ministry. He pursued ministry, and sometimes he temporarily worked to cover his costs. It's better to focus on what God has called you to do. A study in Pastoral Psychology Journal found that bivocational pastors experience significantly higher stress and burnout. When pastors split their focus between ministry and some other profession, they often struggle to maintain effectiveness in both, leading to exhaustion and decreased impact. So don't pursue business to fund your ministry if God has called you to do ministry. Do ministry and trust Him to provide. Which leads to the third reason why starting a business on the side to generate income for your ministry is a bad idea. I worked with evangelist Mark Finley at It Is Written Television for several years earlier in my career, and he had a phrase he would frequently say: money follows ministry. As a multi-million-dollar donor-funded ministry, we would sometimes be tempted to chase donor dollars just to survive. But he always told us to focus on the ministry because money follows ministry. If you're doing meaningful, effective ministry, people will support you. Donors don't give just because you ask. They give because they see results. When people see lives being changed, when they see the gospel being preached with power, they want to be part of that. When you're pursuing God's calling, He will surround you with people of financial means who will support your calling. Money follows ministry. Pastor, you can't serve two masters. Running a business to fund your ministry might sound like a good idea, but it will always demand more than you expect. God has given different gifts to different people. If He's called you to be an entrepreneur, go build wealth for the kingdom. But if He's called you to be a pastor, focus on ministry. And while some are called to be volunteer lay pastors, these are often people who've already found success in another career whom God calls to lead a church. If God wired you to be a pastor, focus on that. Trust God for the financial means to pursue your calling because money follows ministry. So instead of splitting your time between ministry and business, go all in on ministry and invite people to support what God is doing. He will provide the resources that you need. What do you think? Have you ever struggled with balancing ministry and business? Drop a comment on YouTube. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if this was helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with 2 other pastors. Have you ever felt stuck waiting for God to make things clear before you take action? Well, faith isn't just about waiting. Sometimes faith requires stepping forward even in the midst of uncertainty. If you'd like to hear 3 things about faith that we can learn from the story of Moses at the Red Sea, check out the last episode of Ministry Insights from SermonView. Pastor, I know ministry isn't easy, but you are not alone. The same God who called you is walking with you every step of the way. He is strengthening you, guiding you, using you to change lives. So keep pressing forward. God's plans for you and your church are bigger than you could possibly imagine, and He's working through you right now to turn those plans into reality. So stay strong in the Lord. I love you guys. I'm cheering for you. I'll see you next time.